Greetings. Today I shall be reading a story to you by the name of Lady of the Jungle. Translation by me. Chapter 1, Part 1. The arguments in the Aryan Nejad family continued into the night. Atife, who was by nature a pure and kind-hearted woman, was displeased because of standing up to her husband, but due to the happenings she believed she was in the right to stand up for herself. Because when she was rising, she made her choice and showed it as her trump card. She stood against her husband and proclaimed, "You act however you want, but I will attend the funeral tomorrow," and left the room without elaborating further. Aryan Nejad sat in silence for a few moments, flabbergasted, and went deep in thought. Aryan Nejad was a man formerly belonging to the noble caste, but at long since turned his back towards his lineage and had chosen to forward humanitarian beliefs, pushing away the empty and worthless beliefs of his father and relatives, and free himself from their grasp. He believed he could overthrow them with will, resistance, and sheer willpower. And to prove it, he had taken the first step against them by choosing a girl from the middle class as his bride and withstanding rejection, exile, and humiliation from his family. He had spent the bitter and lonely years away from the high and worthy place of his father's household with his wife, and was feeling a storm passing. He did not expect his father and mother to pass away and this storm to come so soon. But now, with their death, the groom of the family, who was the main piece of the scene, was seeing his relationship with his wife in danger, even more than when they were alive. And so he was searching for a way to fix the problem before it happens. He decided not to attend the funeral. While he was pacing around his room, he stopped in his tracks, noticing a picture on the wall, and crossing eyes with it. It was a family photo that Aryan Nejad had taken, displaying him while he was 5 in his mother's embrace, and his 15-year-old sister near his father. Aryan Nejad could feel that his father was staring at him even inside the photo, wanting to oppress him. A victorious smirk emerged from his lips, and he looked away from the photo. He was smiling so much it would seem as if he had just won a battle with an unseen force, and mumbled to himself, "I never lost, and I shall never lose. Atife is right. We shouldn't worry about the future. We can come up with solutions to problems, just as we have before." With this choice made, he left the room, and as he was readying his place for sleep, he found Atife sitting in the middle of the bed, seemingly flipping through a magazine, but clearly had her mind set to another problem. With a calm and collected side eye, she gazed at her husband and asked with a tone free of any hint of aggression, "So what are you going to do? Do I go alone?" Aryan Nejad looked at her with a worried expression, and instead of answering her, he said with a saddened tone, "Just as they are leaving, they have already caused separation between us. Have you noticed how antagonizing you have been to me since the beginning of the night?" The sad tone of Aryan Nejad ashamed Atife, and she set aside the magazine she was holding and said with regret, "I am never willing to depress and sadden you for the sake of others. You know how much regret your sadness brings me. I hope to bridge the gap between me and my siblings after 20 years, but it appears I was wrong. Forgive me if I made you hurt." He took her head into his embrace and ran his hand in her silky hair and said, "You are a very kind-hearted and nice woman. But have you forgotten the suffering they have put us through and are fighting against their tyranny? Or have you forgotten how the man you want to attend the funeral of separated me and my sister to a great degree? How can I forget his actions and attend his funeral? You know me, and you know how I cannot pretend I am someone else. Even if humanity demands I be saddened by the passing of another human being. He wasn't human. He was a tyrant bent on limiting others." Atafe, who had found a warm, safe, and comfortable spot in his hug, pushed her head into his chest and said, "I know, dear, I didn't forget anything, but I believe that this life isn't worth it. You shouldn't repay evil with evil. At this moment, there is no persecutor. Do you want to take revenge instead of your sister Sad? She only has you in this world. You should hear her behind the phone, how she cries." And then, while her kindness-filled eyes were gazing into his, she continued, "Even if just for your sister, we should forget our grudges, so Ferengis thinks we are her friends and that she isn't alone in this world. If I am the same Atafe you loved and left your family for, attend the funeral with me tomorrow." A lone tear streamed down her cheek. She had grown up in a small and friendly family, a family who easily saw the good in them, and a family who easily turned the other cheek to whomever wronged them. He couldn't refuse Ferengis and not attend her husband's funeral while she was in her darkest hour. Atafe had chosen to give Ferengis a chance too after her phone call. She believed Ferengis was simply a victim of circumstance and deserved another chance to make amends for her past. Now that she was free from the grasp of an evil man to live for herself, she deserved some kindness too. So Atafe raised her head and looked Aryan Nejad straight in the eyes. He hesitated due to her gaze. With a loud groan he said, "Fine, I will attend the funeral, but I won't stay afterwards." A delighted grin spread across Atafe's face, and to make sure she asked, "And will you allow our daughter to come too? It's about time Hediye met her aunt." With Aryan's permission given, Atafe breathed a sigh of relief and thought about the upcoming meeting. End of Chapter 1, Part 1. I hope you enjoyed this small story, and I will see you next time.